All right, peace and blessings. We got a lot of letters from prisoners today, December the 4th, the year 2017. This one comes from Mike Parsons at mikeparsons.org. We have put up the trial audio from his trial several years ago. This is a website that's been put together, and his wife is facing sentencing, potential 20 years in 8 days. And I can tell you that she should never spend a day in prison, as well as I believe Mike is completely innocent too. I believe they targeted him because of his political and religious beliefs. He has sent me a letter that he wrote to Donald Trump, and I want to read it into YouTube. We have put up several videos with jailhouse interviews from jail from Mike Parsons. I encourage you to listen to those as well. So, this is from Ambassador Michael Parsons, Chilcotin Nation, country of the Chilcotin, 9160 Highway 64, Suite 12, number 213, Lakeland, Tennessee 38002. Greeting President Trump. In 1998, Ms. Parsons and I bought a small family farm and began building our dream home. However, in 2006, after years of being terrorized with being shot at, 4 of our pets being murdered, and witnessing the Tipton County government corruption and cover-ups, I ran for county executive. News reports indicated that I won by a landslide, but the next day the votes were flipped, and when I discovered how the tabulation was rigged, I sued to void the election. Being a countywide election, this would have resulted in new elections for county executive, sheriff, judges, district attorney, district public defender, county clerk, county register, constables, county commissioners, and school board members. Although I filed suit in the Chancery Court, the circuit court judge who was on the ballot I was suing to void, and thereby a conflict of interest, illegally acted as Chancery judge and denied my subpoena of evidence, proving the votes were flipped, and dismissed the suit. I then appealed. In 2007, during the appeal, an unknown man who was a friend of the county executive I was suing over the election attacked my family without provocation. The perpetrator shot 29 times at Miss Parsons and I and our pet Brandy. From 100 yards away, his spray of 29 bullets flew past our heads and hit Brandy in the back as she stood in front of me. I held her as she took her last breaths, and she died in my arms. The perpetrator then hid his rifle in the back of a truck at the direction of his accomplice. The two refused to drop their pistol, refused to submit to a citizen's arrest, and walked away. I confiscated the rifle and gave it to deputies, but despite my report of the crimes committed against my family and they called the General Sessions judge, also on the ballot I was suing to void, and he ordered them to arrest me. When deputies asked him what the charge was, he said, "I'll think of something and tell him in the morning." Clearly, the deputies calling a judge on a Sunday night at 7 p.m. indicated this was not protocol. The next day, the judge charged me with aggravated assault for having a gun, which I had a permit to carry, and the man who shot at us and killed Brandy received no charges. In 2008, at the preliminary hearing, the same judge who charged me ruled on his own charge against me. Under oath, the perpetrator admitted he initiated the attack without provocation, other than he was mad I was suing his friend, the county executive. Then the perpetrators originally signed statement indicating he was the aggressor without cause and I was acting in self-defense was replaced with a new one with facts he could not even remember. The assistant district attorney would later claim the perpetrator's memory got better with time. I was then indicted by a grand jury that was handpicked by the Elections Commission office manager, who was appointed by the county executive I was suing over the rigged election. The jury foreman's signature was the only one on the indictment, and he was handpicked by the circuit judge in violation of a state statute requiring random selection of the foreman every 2 years. Apparently, he has been randomly selected for over 20 years in a row. In 2009, I was forced to stand trial before another handpicked jury selected by the same election commission's office manager. The circuit judge refused to recuse himself despite my pending federal lawsuit against him for official oppression and judicial misconduct. He denied my motion for a change of venue, citing my inability to get a fair trial, and he forced me to stand trial without legal counsel in violation of U.S. and Tennessee constitutions. Argersinger versus Hamlin and Maxwell case in Tennessee. I was prosecuted by a district attorney I was suing for malicious prosecution due to his conspiracy to add additional false charges in retaliation for my presenting the crimes committed by the shooter, arresting officer, and assistant district attorney to the grand jury. The district public defender, whose assistant overheard the conspiracy by the district attorney and his assistant, disclosed the conspiracy to me. I provided a copy of the recorded conversation to the FBI, who did nothing, to the U.S. attorneys, who refused to take it, and to the FBI, who laughed and said, "We work for the DA, Mike Donovan." I was convicted by jurors who lied under voir dire questioning, including the arresting officer's mother-in-law, who lied when I asked if she was related to the arresting officer. The arresting officer was also a defendant in my federal lawsuit for official oppression. Another juror lied and when asked if he was employed by Tipton County government, since I was suing the county executive and his job could be at risk if he did not find me guilty. I am an innocent man who was falsely convicted and railroaded into prison in 2009 because I refused to sell part of our land to a guy whose relative was in Tipton County government, because I then asked the Tipton County government to hold his accomplices who were responsible for terrorizing my family accountable. Because I then ran for elected office and then sued to expose how they rigged an election, 10 years of our life have been stolen from Miss Parsons and I. Now they are trying to send me back to prison again for false charges for 10 years. Therefore, I ask you, exercise the power granted to you and recognize my appointment as ambassador of the sovereign Tilshikotan nation, country of the Chilcotin, whereby both Miss Parsons and I would be protected by diplomatic immunity. Then I could continue my ministry helping the Tilshikotan nation develop their natural resources, allowing all the Tilshikotan access to good-paying jobs, revenue for their own interest, and the ability to take back their children from the Canadian government's child kidnapping foster system, where children like Sheila Billy were put on drugs for wanting to learn about Christ, put in a cage for running away, and reports of sexual abuse were ignored by their government that would rather generate millions to balance their book with their taxpayer-funded, pedophile-infested child trafficking racket. This is what President Trump would call a win-win-win proposition. There is even a Tennessee logging company I have partnered with that would be managing the logging operation, which would also provide many jobs for the people of Tennessee and generate millions in income to those Tennesseans. Also, I have petitioned the governor of Tennessee to exonerate me on the false convictions of 2009, but have never heard from him. I know that Governor Haslam's office received my petition, but I have no way of knowing if he actually saw it. His exonerating the original false charges and conviction against me would eliminate the current false charge of unlawful possession of a gun. The fact is, I possess no gun, and there is no law against being in the vicinity of a gun. I would also ask for an investigation of the corruption in the Tipton County that has and is destroying too many lives. Please see my bio, character references, affidavits of witnesses to the abuse by Tipton County, as well as new evidence provided by a review of this entire case by an impartial international court. Sincerely, Ambassador Michael Parsons, a live man under duress without prejudice, Tilshikotan nation, country of the Chilcotin. P.S. On August the 1st, 2017, I was forced to stand trial for failure to appear in the Tipton County Court. Although state of Tennessee had no proof, I was directed to appear by a lawful authority, as required by TCA 39-16-609. I was convicted by a jury who refused to follow the U.S. or Tennessee constitutions and treaties thereto. I was sentenced to 3 years in prison for what was previously considered contempt of court, which would result in a maximum of 10 days in jail and a $50 fine. PPS, in August of this year, Miss Parsons was falsely charged by the Same Old Boy Network and their accomplices. Please review the attached update. All right. It says please review the attached update, but I don't think I have that. So I do have another letter from him that I have not even read yet, but in this particular letter, that was the only pages. So we are praying for Mike Parsons. We pray that you go to mikeparsons.org. I will upload this to yearofjubilee.com. He's on the list of other prisoners. I haven't had a chance to make him his own page yet. But all of this information should be on mikeparsons.org. And please be aware of the fact that Mrs. Parsons is facing 20 years in prison 8 days from now. And it's time is of the essence. And If you want to know Mrs. Parsons' judge's address, I can give you that, and you can write a letter to the judge. As far as pictures, let me show you a picture of Mike Parsons real quick. Michael Parsons, photos. That's it right there. That's a picture of Mike Parsons and his family. That's his wife, probably his son. And I pray that you stand up for these people and write him a letter and keep them in your prayers. Thank you for your time.